Good, that's good. Great.
Onegashimasu.
Okay, okay, very good. Let's do it. There, listen. So. Great. Slide the feet, slowly find the ground. Take it to raising the heel. As let the feet settle, just take it into an arm swing, up and down. And switching across the chest. A little bit of a shoulder tap. Come across the front. And then a little bit of rotation. And then into the hips. And circling hips. And change. And bring feet together, circling the knees. And the other way. And just hinge in front and back. Take it a little bit deeper. And bring the feet up. Take it down to a squat low and hinge it back. Okay, stick it a little bit wider, sinking down into the middle. A little bit of pressure out with the hands. Mobilizing the hips a little bit. Keep hands on the floor, take it a little bit wider. A little bit of bend in the knee, just taking the leg side to side a little bit. Keep reaching both hands to the ankles. Come into the centre, walking hands out forwards, drawing hips back. And shifting the weight to the hands, walking the feet together at the back, treading out the heels. And lengthening back both legs. And just think it's at both knees going down, and then lengthening back up, a little bit more dynamic. Walking hands to the feet. And take it forwards, fold. And nice and slowly, to extended. Right, let's loosen out the wrist a little bit. Do the feet at the same time. Just take one foot back, roll in the ankle, roll in the hands, wrists, both ways. Switching your leg. And change direction. And just bring the foot off the ground, just opening the fingertips up. A little bit of pressure at the toes. And this side. Okay, and then just taking it into an active swing, so you're just going to float the heel off the ground, create an active hand like a kind of claw shape, and just take it into a swing, so bring the whole body into it. Just floating the heel off the ground all the time if you can. That's really uncomfortable, just set the heel back down, but see if you can work with an active foot, active hand.
Michael.
Yeah, sure.
Are you still trying to do just the drop, but keeping the hands like you're not pulling down, you're keeping the hands?
Yeah, still with the idea of a swing. The idea of this is like really be able to really mobilize the hip and still be able to mobilize the shoulder. I know it's just having an active hand, just give a little bit more pressure to it, and also an active foot. But yeah, trying to especially still keep the shoulder loose in this case. So I'm not trying to add anything down with it, just kind of letting them drop. But again, with a kind of active active hand with it. Good. 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 And then just try the arm swinging front and back. Again, if you can, just stay on the toes a little bit, just to keep the foot active, and just think about a kind of front swing through. Again, trying to activate the hand, activate the arch in the foot. Swing in the front and back. And then just start to bring the arms a little bit higher. A little bit higher. A little bit higher. Full active hand, full active feet. And if you can with it, just take it into circle. If you can, switch directions every so often. Good. That's nice. Okay. Great. We'll do a little bit for the fist. These are best done on the ground, so just play with, just go to the ground a little bit. Just find a kind of comfortable kneeling position, just on the floor. Just the first one, just play with forming the fist and just check in on the mobility forward. And then just play with just placing it down into the ground, so just one at a time. And just play with just pressing a little bit of weight into it. So also just warm up the wrist a little bit. If it's uncomfortable, you kind of want use the other hand as a support and just use it just to take a little bit of the weight. But if you can just explore the fist and the ability to just press a little bit of weight into it, get more of a warm up. You don't want to kind of stress anything too much too early. Press a bit of weight into it, and then just switch it to the hand. Ideal kind of position is just kind of lined up with the shoulder. And again, just test into it. Just play with it a little bit. Just again, just to warm up the wrist a little bit. Just making sure that the fist can actually receive a bit of weight and comfortably. So, good. And just checking on the elbow, the shoulder. Should be kind of stable, should be able to mobilize through it. Okay, and then just play with this one again. It's more of a warm up than anything else. Think about just having the fists near the legs, near the knees, and just walking them out. And as you walk out, pass a little bit more weight into it. You can keep the arms straight, kind of with the arms here, and then just kind of walk back with them. I think more difficult variation is as you go out, you also start to go into the elbow and start to kind of lengthen out. Again, just choose a kind of variation of it, which is not easy, but you don't want to be too, just shouldn't be too hard, but just kind of straight through. Line the body up. And then here, it's a little bit like a variation, like if you were to use one of these ab rollers, it's the same kind of exercise if you were to kind of roll through. So I want the core to be strong, and then able to pull the body back out. It's the same idea. You're just lengthening the core, lengthening the arms away from the body. And then just warming up the wrists a little bit. Do it. Yeah, one nice variation you can do this because you don't have the handles is to bend the elbows a little bit if you do it. Great. Great. And then next one here, just explore different positions as you walk out. Explore wider positions, explore narrow positions, and just again, just play with putting a little bit of weight forward through the fist. It just means a little bit going to kind of a press-up position. Yeah, more of a kind of warm-up exercise than it is with too much stress on the body. But again, just to check on the different spatial arrangements, different fist positions. And again, just to check in on the shoulder, the elbow, ability to pass weight through it. Should be reasonably comfortable Again, working with like a straight arm position, going into a bent arm position. Good, great. Good. And then just to save the wrist a little bit, what I want to do is just work with the back of the hand. Now, in the old days, we used to do always press ups on the back of the wrist, kind of doing this kind of stuff, and also press ups on this one, really dangerous. Very easy to damage the wrist to do. So I don't want you to do that. But what I want you to do is play with wrist mobility here, and just play with, again, use the other hand on the ground, and just play with just rolling the wrist through. And just to kind of check in on the mobility here. Just going to kind of roll a little bit of weight through. Just give the fingers a little bit of a rest. And just go to the wrists. And again, the ability to mobilize, apply a bit of pressure. If it feels comfortable to do so, you can also just take the weight fully onto the wrist and kind of roll with it. And now what's really important is the elbow mobility. Forearm's ability to motivate movement. And just passing through the fingers a little bit as well. Fingers, thumbs. Right. And then just play with both sides a little bit with it. So work with kind of circle shapes, rolling shapes. Obviously, the harder it is, the more the arm is away from you and the more weight you pass into the arm. So 2 ways to make it more difficult if it feels quite easy. And then the really difficult one is take the supporting hand away and play with mobilizing. The next step from that is take the knees away from the ground and go to the feet. That will be super tricky. So, great. Good. And then working from that, just go to the fingertips. So, though we don't do a lot of strikes with the fingertips, it's useful to kind of strengthen them a little bit. So just play with, again, like a finger push-up. Again, just you don't have to go all the way down with this, but just think about lengthening down into it, pressing back up with it. And again, just play a little bit with different positions. So obviously it's easier if the hands are close to the body. It's more difficult if they're kind of narrow. It's a little bit difficult if they're wide. But just play with different finger positions. All 5 fingers and thumbs on the ground. Think about really spreading them wide. Nice full hand position. And you're just pressing a little bit of weight into it. Nothing too strenuous. And you just play with different positions. 1 hand high, 1 hand low, both hands wide. Nice ones like an archer variation, where you have 1 hand close, 1 hand spread. Just explore different positions. Great. Nice, so nice. Good. Right. And then we'll just say this into it's one of the best movements you can do, especially for kind of full range of motion movements. It's basically like an Indian push-up. So think about widening the legs at the back, having the hands quite wide, and then you're playing with like a dive bomber. So you pull the body back, and then you're going underneath. Let the chest just brush the floor. Lengthen up through it. Now you've got a choice. You can go all the way back through it, but the easier one that we'll play with is just to push back up, pull hips back up, lengthen, and then dive under, just brushing the ground with the chest. Pull the body back up long. So we'll just do about 10 or so, nice and slow. A nice one for full range of mobility, especially for the shoulder. And you've got an active hand as you're doing an active foot. Pulling back. Sometimes we call these judo push-ups as well. I tend to do them a lot in judo styles. And if they get very tricky, you can do them on the knees. That's great. Super. Okay, good. And then if you come up, we'll do one again. It comes from the Indian tradition, mostly from the wrestling school. So they would probably do about 1,000 of those push-ups on an off day. Probably they do about 1,000. And also in judo schools, you probably do about 1,000 before you even train. Next one, again, go back to like an active foot. This one's going into squat variation. Take it, don't go too far with this, especially if it's uncomfortable. But it looks like this. You're going to bring the hands down. So as if you're trying to sweep the ground with the fingers, pull the body back up, and then in this case, just settle back onto the heel. You can stay up on the heel all the time. Think about not necessarily reaching the ground, in which case you're going to do something like this. Think about being long in the spine, lengthened in the core, reach down and come back up. So this is really for the legs. So very low squat position. And probably about 2,000 of these. Something like that, maybe 10. And that same kind of arrangement of the hip, knee to foot, that really wants to stay. So I definitely don't want the knee to kind of collapse in. It's going to go out a little bit in terms of the pressure. Just about 20, just a couple more. Very useful full body movement exercise. Just a couple more. Yeah, and just shake out a little bit, shake out the wrists, shake out the legs. Okay. We might go into a little bit of Tanto work, but we'll just start with some attenuation work. So find the shoulder width. We'll do the most basic one. When we're doing this morning as well, if you think about just going from the hip first, like a real Chinese fish straight through. So the first you just, with the other hand, play with 3 positions. The nice positions to play with is the shoulder, the front. Just feel what kind of happened in the shoulder here. The center here in this position, and also the back of the body here. So just feeling what happens around this area. Also kind of feeling what's happening in terms of tensioning down the back of the spine. That's just mixing both sides a little bit. But again, just explore again, shoulder position, center position, back, and just feel kind of what's happening as you kind of reach out with it. And not so much interested too much in power at the beginning, just in basic alignment. So, yeah. So if you think in this like the structure you have with the push-up, imagine you're doing the same thing, but you're just kind of falling into the ground to do it. If the structure is kind of weak as it goes in, or it's not engaged from the back, something kind of collapses in the form. Yeah, and then all the pressure is dissipated out. So think about this one. It's a little bit like squeezing the punch out from the core. So especially think about the glutes really going to engage. The lower body of the pelvic underfloor is really going to engage, and then also the back of the shoulder is going to kind of really engage into it. So think about something like a kind of yeah, it's like kind of really shooting from the hip. So the hips engage into it, the glutes are engaged, and then boom, it kind of just pulls out of the body. So the main problem people have is pushes and punches. They start in the upper body basically, and the core's not engaging into it because it's just kind of weak. So think about really the sense that you squeeze it out of the body. It's a little bit like squeezing toothpaste. It's like this, and then it boom, shoots out. It shoots out. Shoots out. A really kind of classic Chinese fist strike. Nice one to just work with structurally. Right. Good. And then we'll go to the one we tend to use all the time. Again, with the other hand, just play with these 3 positions: shoulder, center, back of the body, and play with the fist now in this position here and rolling through this position into the front. Nice also just as a different exploration, but what this is also great for is really working on forearm rotation as well, and the ability for the forearm to rotate whilst maintaining the structure down in the arm. So it's really the same kind of stuff we do all the time with the copy work, with weapon work. It's really nothing new in terms of our structure, in terms of our system. But I just want to feel that I'm able to express it out in a fist, basically. So that kind of structure. And again, keep that same sense that the core is going to engage, really like you're squeezing the fist from the back of the body out. And so there's much more emphasis in this case, not really on the fist, but on the squeezing out of the body this way. So, asa. No, asa. So, good. Okay, just stick with that one. the tendencies with us is also to go straight into hammy and work with it. In which case, it's actually quite difficult to make a lot of these strikes powerful. So the first, just play with like a train track for the body. You can also work with quite a deep stance as well. So start quite deep. Feel that you've got a really. The key thing is you feel that you've still got mobility. So you definitely don't want to go to a stance which is like straight and locked, and then all the mobility is locked out from the hip. So front leg very stable, and then the back hip able to mobilize. Same kind of feeling as you go to the punch. Play with the straight fist here, and play with the rotating through it this way. The main thing now is not to feel that you over rotate with it. Okay, so it's something like this happening. You can go there later with it, but think about like a kind of straight line motion here. So it's again a kind of squeezing forward, squeezing the strike out, and again allow that back foot to be mobile. You'll see there's kind of lots of technical points with this, but the key thing is just to feel that the hips can engage just in one direction, straight through, just in one direction, straight through. And then you can play with the second hand, shoulder on the center, on the back of the body, wherever it feels like, especially if I feel like one area is kind of weak, or I feel like the shoulder starts to pop out, just use it. And just play with both sides a little bit with it. That's so good. Good. And with this motion, because you've got a lot of hip mobility, it's a really good one to play with going out into the movement and also pulling back the body. So think about again engaging the fist out from the back of the body, and the pull back is going to be from the back of the body as well. So engaging from the hip and then engaging from the hip. Same stuff we do if you think about all the foundation training, the kind of focuses on hip first motion, and the bringing back to the center is the same kind of mobility work. I don't want to kind of lose it as I kind of pull back. So the kind of tensioning which comes from the movement, use it to just pull you back into the center. Back, back. Yeah, good. So, yeah, great, good. We'll just go back to shoulder width again. It's always useful just to return to this position. Think about Neuroken. We'll bring the back hand into it. So if you think about the front hand just setting up for the strike, and then the back fist just kind of gently coming across the back of the head. So there's a sense of wrapping here. Again, keeping the structure strong, and then think about really drawing it out and slinging it back to the body this way. So this hand is going to do again the same kind of work in the sense of pulling back before this kind of motion. Draw them together and just let that hand come back to the center line. But this hand's really used for balance now, so it's used to find the target, find the spot, and then use it just to find the balance in the body. The danger with this movement especially is that you twist the core to do it, and then you basically lose the structure at the top. So the back hand in this case being strong is used to really emphasize the back side of the movement, and then allow it to kind of come back in. And it's going to give you also a kind of target to kind of pull back to. Yeah. That's it. Nice. Yeah, and this is a very useful one. If you think about how we utilize this punch, especially when we're kind of blending out to the side, and generally we're going to go for a grab after it. So if you think about really strong strike going into it, boom, and then as you pull back, let it release. Yeah, so the idea later is that I would strike with it, and then the hand's in a position where it can just grab immediately. So there's no kind of back and then trying to open the hand. It's basically within the strike itself, and then you're in an ability where you're in a position where you can take the strike. You can take the grab straight after it. So you've got the strike, it's already open, and then you're in a position where you can come into it. This is especially useful for when you're working with someone who's on the body already. You need to strike and hit them and then control the hand. Yeah, and then you're probably going to go into something like a 𝘵𝘢𝘢 in terms of how they, depending on how they grab. But again, kind of strike out, strike, and then being able to release it this way. Yeah, I don't want to confuse the body and basically do it open and then grab. I want to basically and then release it, and then release it, and then release it. Yeah, good. And then just take the same one with that same stance. So you're in a little bit like a railway track. Again, I want the hips to be fully mobile. So if I go to this position, the danger is you start to go into twisting work. You can do the strikes from here, but just play with this position. And you're going to do it across the body. So if you think about the front hand is with the front foot, you're going to wrap in this way, this wrapped, and then think about rolling out this way. So it's done right from the back leg here. Now you can, as you do this, as you do this one, also kind of travel through with it this way. But just for now, just get the idea of the hip can really mobilize through it. So you're out, you roll across, and then you release it. What I want to feel is that front leg is very stable, and I'm able to really, again, mobilize that back hip. Again, very similar to some of the work we do with the Joe. Think about kind of 𝘵𝘩𝘦𝘦𝘳 kind of work. Anytime where I'm really stable in one leg, and I'm able to mobilize the body with the other. It's kind of feeling. It's very kind of dynamic strike actually. That's it. In that same kind of sense, I want to strike and also withdraw and be in strong position. It's also a nice one. Think about the elbow as it comes back. The elbow is very heavy, so that sense that the elbow is down. But one of the dangers of this is the elbow kind of pointing away from the body. And the elbow's kind of lying down. Boom. That's it. Nice. Right. So. And then just play with when we're traveling through it. So you've got that same organization. You're coming through, you're going to coil with the step, and you're going to release it with the step this way. So it's a full kind of step through. Really complex kind of movement of the center actually. So if you think about the center rolling through, and being able to express out to the back as well, and keeping balance as you do it. So quite a tricky movement to kind of perform. You're kind of rolling through it. And again, I want the whole back of the body to engage into it. And the strike's basically an expression of the center work coming through, rolling into it, and then you're expressing it out. That's it. Great. Good. All right, good. We'll just play with add a little bit of a combination to it. So if you think about striking through with with the back foot, you can do either straight strike through, kind of pulling through this way. You can do it with that kind of rotated strike, so you have a little bit more range in the shoulder. And then think about going into the hand. You're going to do the same side, same fist. So you strike with the right side in this case, and then rotate coil to the back, strike through with the right side this way. Because it's both strikes being delivered on the same side. And really focus on the hip work, the grounding, rolling through, rotate to the back, striking out to the back this side. And you can do this both sides, which is to the right foot today, but striking through, releasing out that way. So both delivered on the same side. You could do it for opposite sides, but it's just a nice one to start with. So. Good. Great, and then we'll just look a little bit of 𝘥𝘠𝘦𝘢𝘵 work. We'll do a little bit of knife work, but it's a nice kind of lead into working with the blade. So think about, we'll go straight into this one. So just think about the step through because we're really used to doing this one. It's one of the attacks we do quite a lot. Think about the raise up through, and then just applying the strike through this way. The first thing, just play with the strike as if you were to just kind of stop at the head, just kind of pause there at that position. Again, use the backhand, it can go at the shoulder, just kind of checking what's happening with the shoulder as you strike. You go at the center, just to give you a bit more feedback there. Or it can also go at the back of the body. And again, just feel if that back part of the body is really kind of engaging into strike. If that part feels kind of empty, it's very difficult to kind of generate weight there. So think about this point engaging in. Same sense of kind of squeezing the strike out from the body. Center work's really about now coiling in through that leg, passing the weight through it. And then the structure of the shoulders is really about, can I actually keep the weight underneath the joint, or does it start to kind of pop up out of the body? So really applying weight down. Not the most practical of empty-handed strikes, but can be quite
Where should the field engage?
Say again.
Where in the back should I be looking? Because
so if you think, I mean, in a basic sense, I'm engaging the glutes, and I'm engaging the core here, and I'm engaging basically the archway in the legs. So just by engaging the glutes, it's going to engage the back of the leg, and it's a kind of lighting in, so I'm not kind of really squeezing it tight, but I'm just finding that it's basically recruited in the movement, but I don't feel it's kind of loose, and the body starts to kind of move. You can do that, and later it's even kind of advice in a way, but what a lot of people do is go into it, and actually there's no kind of engagement at all in the lower body. So think about really kind of gauging the lower body into it as you step in. Boom. And there really does need to be some kind of structure in the lower body to pass through it. But, yeah, good. Yeah, and the other part that's engaged is really the lats, the whole underside of the shoulder. So again, if this area is kind of loose, it's very difficult to generate weight, and then adding in the hand won't really do anything. So think about as you go into this area opens up, it's engaged into from the back, and then think about it really switched on. So as it comes in, it's really engaging into the strike, and it's not so much I'm trying to tighten it; it's I'm trying to make it big. So not actually how it is, but you either contract the muscle or you don't. But think about making it big. So I want to feel as I go into it, the same feeling you have with the sword, that I don't want to feel that area kind of empties and becomes very weak. I want to feel that area is actually primary part of the movement, and the expression of the arms actually really linked to the ability to engage that part of the back. But that's a big kind of connection into the hips, into the glutes. And if it's not engaged, it's going to be very difficult to engage the weight of the arm into it. That's great. And just play what's going to be alternating. So you step in one side, strike, and then as you go, you rotate to back, draw that head back, and then strike on that same side, on the opposite side. So you go, turn, roll back, step in, strike, turn, roll back, step in, strike, and you're just alternating each time. And just a nice drill to get into. And you can just think about striking through just the point of the head. If you want to now take it to fully kind of applying the weight through it, in which case you're generally with an open hand going for the side of the neck and applying it down into the clavicle kind of area. You could go to the temple as well, but a bit risky in some cases. Oh. Good. And then we'll look at it again. What we're doing this morning is basically looking, yes, very, in a sense, very easy once I've got some basic strikes to look at it in terms of an attack form, which because you're dealing with strikes. And yes, we need to train an Aikido to deal with strikes, actually have people that can strike properly. If you think about the majority of the stuff we're doing with actual attempting work, it's actually using the strike to either destabilize the person or to take them out of balance or to take the mind away from what they're actually trying to do. So think of this now, think of the 𝘥𝘠𝘦𝘴 as a defensive form. So if you think of the few basics patterns that we've got, the first one is this idea of coming out to the side and striking with it. So you've obviously got the hand defending the 𝘥𝘠𝘦 this way, but the key hand in this case, in terms of the striking work, is this hand coming up and striking for the head. And in this case, there's a strike going right for the center of the head and basically striking in this way. You're going basically between the eyes or for the bridge of the nose, and that's the kind of strike here this way. So it's that same kind of motion. Whereas it's just a modification of it in terms of the 𝘥𝘠𝘦 hand shape. The hips in this case are really coming out. The feeling now is a little bit more sideways because the application of this is again to kind of take the attention away. But if it applies, it's to take the balance, take the structure away. So the structure is weak to be able to cut it down. So it's not really totally about hitting the person or applying weight through the strike. It's about applying weight through the strike to destroy the balance. And then you can go into something else with it after it. That's the first one to use, really. Good. Good. And then the second one in this case is where you're molding into the attack itself. So as the strike's coming around, you're molding inside it this way. And then again, it's the backhand in this case, which is going to do all the work in terms of the strike. The front hand's just going to basically kind of blend with it this way and absorb it. So in this case, just take the focus a little bit to get the body work in this case. Again, it's not just to kind of pass straight through this way. It's to actually find an angle where the person's unstable and I can apply the strike through it. So if you look at the attack itself as the person comes through, they're applying the strike here, and the weakness in the posture is this way. Yeah, so what you're actually trying to do in this case is to blend in and drive into the weak part of the posture this way. Again, not with an idea to actually strike the person and as a kind of knockout, but to actually destabilize them and be able to go somewhere else and pass through into a technique. Many common techniques from here, like 𝘱𝘰𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘭𝘪, 𝘵𝘰𝘪𝘭𝘪. Lots of techniques are possible from here. Again, applies the same kind of logic as the striking work, just applied for a different function. So, good. Okay. Good. Okay, and then the third one is one we hardly ever do, and it's the 𝘭𝘪𝘭𝘪 form of it. And we spend so much time just on the basic form, getting this one, and then maybe we get into this kind of shape, and then it's generally has very little time to go into the next one. The first one with this is just playing with this movement, which is it goes back to the first movement, this one, but now that the strike is actually would be delivered with this hand. But the first thing is think that you blend up. The idea is in this case the strike's fully committed, and you allow it to blend past the face this way. So it's a really useful movement, and it's a shame we don't do it so much because it's one of the most useful movements we've got in Aikido in terms of protecting the head this way. So you do that same kind of pattern as if you were to do that, and then all you do with this is let it. Imagine the strike's flowing past, the arm is flexible, and it just use it to protect the face with it this way. So it would strike through, and then I just kind of flow around it this way. Really a useful one, and I'm just kind of protecting the face with it. So it's this and this, this and this, this and this. There aren't a lot of movements in Aikido where actually protecting the head, and it's actually, if you go to any kind of sparring session or any kind of work with a box, you really need to be protecting the head. So this is one of the moves that actually really does work, and should probably be trained a little bit more maybe. Okay. Yeah, and then with that, think about what we would generally do from there in terms of technique is like flow past it, take a grab and go into the technique. Yeah, usually like an 𝘥𝘢𝘪𝘴 or an 𝘰𝘰𝘦𝘴 or something. Think about the ability also is present in this movement for this arm to roll through, come straight through and strike, straight into a strike. if you get this right, you blend through, you're right on the back of the head, bam, and you've got a really easy target for it. What you would do is also, you can choose to flow that into like an 𝘰𝘠𝘦𝘴 or something like this, but the idea with this case is to be able to use that hand, protect it, and be able to strike straight away from it. In the case, same like kind of sword work, when I'm kind of receiving a block or I'm receiving a blow, I'm going to use it to feed off and use it to strike. It's going to basically create the response in this case. A very nice movement, and if you pull it off, it's a really, really useful movement to kind of be able to just pull out. But it's really based on that same kind of principle as the strike. It's just something that's a little bit more applied that way. Yeah, so that's it. Yes, yeah, good. Yeah. That's it. Very nice. Let's see. Oh, yay. Good. Okay, just grab a tanto. So we'll do a little bit of knife work. That's a few minutes. Okay. Good. We'll just do a really basic combo to start. So just go right back to the shoulder width. Just get this sense again, engaging from the back, and you've got that ski movement coming out. Let it come up, nice kind of flow through, switching the blade, and just cut across this way, and then just switch it back. So coming across, up, slashing down. Again, you can use the shoulder, use the hand on the center, use the hand on the back. Just kind of check in as you do that. And in the case of the back, I want that engagement all the way. It doesn't really ever really release. And then that work at the center. Again, we want the center to work, center to work, center to work all the way through. And the one on the shoulder just wants to be comfortable. Especially as it kind of raise, comes across. The question is basically just kind of keep the weight draining down through the joint, as if it's kind of really resting into the body. So that's nice. And then just try a few on the other side as well. So same idea, switching through, switch, oh, and then don't go there, just the thrust. Thrust, raising up, and slashing down, pulling back to the hip. Thrust, raising up, slashing across, pulling back to the hip. And just use those three positions. Just check in with them, see what the activity there is. Good. Great. Okay, good. We've got a few minutes. You've both got pants, right? So you can put it in just put it in the front of the belt. So it's basically where you would put it with the belt, and make sure it's kind of accessible. So there's two kind of positions you would generally have the knife. One's at the front, the other one's at the back. We'll explore just the front one today, so it's a little bit simpler to look at. Really useful thing to play with the knife if you think about this idea of being neutral and then re-engaging the whole body into an activity. So play with it with this. So just play with really being neutral, in case you just kind of move around a little bit. Really kind of sense of neutral, still engaged. So in the sense that I'm still always kind of engaging the core a little bit, still engaging the back of the body. But sternum stays tight a little bit. There's always kind of engagement there. Just checking the shoulders, check that they're kind of free, they're kind of accessible. And then just play with the thrusting motion, so drawing it out, coming in and into the thrust, straight in, and then just playing with coming back, placing back in and keeping the view out. So you're just kind of moving around. You're going from very neutral, still engaged, so it's still more like a kind of feeling. And then just think about going directly into motion. It can be any direction. Take it, keep the awareness out, and draw it back into the body. Nice and easy one. Just explore different positions. You can put it on the other side, play with the other hand, taking it. Lots of possibilities with the knife work, so it's kind of interesting. Nice. And then just play with the follow-up into a 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘢. So if you think about coming out into a ski, change it above the head and then go into the slash. So you've got the blade side up as it comes in. That's a natural position to kind of draw out for a ski. And then as you go into the slash, let the knife blade turn and go into a slash this way, whichever, however direction you want to kind of place it. And you can keep the awareness out as you do it all the time. And that subtle kind of engagement from the back really switches on as you go into the strike. Steadies as you go into the transfer, and then comes back to neutral. So in terms of like engagement, it's like going from yellow to red. It's like a kind of whole body goes into the engagement as you go into the strikes. And if you want an art that really does this very much more refined way, Aikido is the best kind of art to look at. So this idea of really maintaining Zanshin, maintaining the structure, really useful practice to go to. Good. Okay, great. Last minute, we'll do one which is more of a kind of defensive one. So again, those are quite aggressive ones. I'm going to kind of attack. So think about the same kind of situation, but you've got the person doing that to you. Yeah, so the person's doing the same kind of exercise, and they're also able to kind of come in and go for the strike. In this one, we're going to play with mobilization. Imagine you've got the ski coming in, and I'm just going to kind of evade it this way, and then they follow in with the 𝘥𝘢𝘦 kind of straight away. Okay, so the drill is like this. I go into a little bit of mobilization, which is going to be probably back or somewhere like this. And then you've got the second strike coming in. As the second strike comes in, what I want you to take a reverse hand grip here, draw it out, and you're coming in here, and you would press the blade into the neck. And control the arm that's attacking. Okay, so this is more of a defensive application of that kind of 𝘥𝘢𝘦 idea. But again, I'm kind of moving with it. I'm going to evade the ski, and then I'm going to coil in and find the knife in this position, basically in a neutralization. This arm can wrap the arm, it can do lots of things, or it can hold the arm and take. But the key hand is this one that's going to come in and basically add pressure to the neck, and the whole body's behind it in terms of weight. So just the last few we'll do. So imagine you're just minding your own business, someone tries to ski, and then they go again, and you're in. And the feeling is really to add just pressure into it. So not a kind of killing motion, really a suppressing motion. And again, the thing that's always in common is that it's the body work that's doing it. Weight comes from the body. Yep. Step. Ooh, good. Step. Good, and we just loosen out the shoulders a little bit. So just passing the knife around and just work on kind of shoulder mobility a little bit. So just kind of move it around. Keep away from the blade. Pass around the back a little bit. Pass it up through the back of the head, around the back a little bit. Just play with a little bit. Loosening the shoulders a little bit. Pass it above the top of the head, around the back. Turn it a little bit with the forearms. And get the shoulder a bit loose again. And then last one, just think about kind of slow slicing movements again, just to open the shoulder up. Play also with these kind of up curves with it as well. So if you think about kind of figure of 8 patterns, kind of cutting across horizontal, you can cut up and down, and you can cut the two the two diagonals. I'm just trying to get the shoulder a little bit looser before we finish. Think about really dragging the blade through the space. Switching the arm every so often. You can also reverse the blade and do the same exercise. Here. Here. Great. Super. Okay, great. We will stop right there. Very good. Good. Great. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Okie dokie. Thank you very much. Very good.